Too many times balls on the ground. You got to get that cleaned up. Defense that flew around, very limited defensively. There's not a lot they did from a schematic standpoint, but it was good to see Dominic Hatfield make some plays. The running backs ran hard, and I thought each quarterback did some good things, and it was really positive in our estimation to have everybody but Travis live to see who was really capable of extending plays and making plays when everything breaks down.
When you have Booker running the way he did today, that violent style of running, breaking through arm tackles, how much does that do for the mentality of an offense as a whole?
Oh, it's big. A strong running game is where everything begins. Even if you're a spread team, if you can't run the ball with some physicality, you're going to struggle. And we've been high on Devontae ever since he got here. Now, he didn't get here prior to spring ball beginning, but just a week or so there was no real chance to get him in much shape. So his conditioning, he was fighting the conditioning factor all spring long. But as soon as he gets himself in top shape, I think he's going to be a very good back in this conference.
Kyle, how many guys did you hold out of this today?
Probably about 80% of the starting defense when you project who's going to be starting for us this fall, and probably about half the starting offense.
How much did what happened today, can it affect the starters, or mostly were you working on two deeps just because the starters have their gigs and they already have them locked down, that's why you held them out?
Well, no, nobody's really set in stone. I mean, you got to continue to compete and play at a high level. But it was good to get a chance to see a bunch of the 2s and 3s who haven't had a lot of live work in this type of environment. So that was a positive. And I say 50% of the offense, probably about a third of the offense was not there. We probably had 2/3 of the starters. All the linemen that we think are going to play, with the exception of Junior Salt, were out there, and Wesley Tonga. There's just Drez and Scotty and a couple of the other guys that we were missing.
Whether it's forcing turnovers or chunk plays on offense, you've been making. We keep hearing you talk about the ability to make big plays. Did you see guys out there doing that today, impressive?
Yeah, we did have some of that. Dominic Hatfield made a few plays. The running backs got out in the open. Troy McCormick got loose a couple times. So there was quite a few of those chunk yardage plays that we really have to make in the course of the season in order to be successful. And so I think we got some guys that are capable of that. Drez Anderson's probably our biggest guy in that category. He wasn't out there today, but you've got to have that. You can't consistently go 80 yards in 12, 14 plays. You got to have some big plays in there.
Coach, you talked about last season several times about the need to have a more violent running attack. Today, Devontae Booker really kind of showed that type of running with his ability to extend plays and everything. Did you kind of like what you saw out of him?
Very much so. I thought all the running backs ran hard. Dravion, Troy, Bubba Poole had some good runs, did some good things, caught a nice pass, and got a big chunky yardage for us. And so, that just doesn't happen by itself. You got to have offensive linemen that are coming off and moving the line of scrimmage, which is what we got today as well.
You were very definitive about tempo last week, and you wanted a better tempo. Did you see more of that today?
For sure. It's closer to where what we envisioned the last week of spring ball, but it's still just a little bit off the pace. We expect to get that remedied early on in fall camp, but the guys are starting to understand now and get a feel for what the expectations are.
Outside of a couple of key injuries in the linebacking crew, pretty happy with the way you guys came out spring ball?
Pretty happy with health-wise. The big blows were obviously Jacoby and Gianni. I'm being optimistic, hoping we get Gianni back before the first game, and Jacoby, if we can get him back, right about when Pac-12 play starts, that would be huge. But we'll see how the rehab goes. But that was definitely the biggest blows during spring. We're losing those two guys. But if there is a silver lining, it forced us to move Marcus Williams over, and that's turning out to be a great move so far. So there is maybe a little bit of a silver lining in that situation.